I'm going to call the Baldwin City Council meeting for January 29th, 2024 to order. This evening I would like to introduce Reverend Joyce Avery, who's the retired pastor of the former Demarest Federated Church, to do the invocation for us, if everybody can please stand.
For just a moment, I would like for you to take just take a breath. Take a moment and close your eyes. And for just a moment, put aside all the busyness, all the noise in your heads, because that's so easy. We come in with noise in our heads. We come in with an agenda. And we come in without thinking of just greeting and thinking of one another and being kind. So for just a moment, close your eyes and just simply breathe. Most gracious, most holy God, you who are our creator, our parent, who loves us more than we love ourselves, we ask now that you would, in this meeting, help everyone to pause, to listen without looking for an answer to come back to hear you, to hear your wisdom, and not the voices that tell us otherwise. We ask tonight that you would remind us that we are all your children. Help us to seek what is truly best for the world around us, not a political answer, but an answer from our hearts, an answer from our guts, an answer from you, O Lord, who brings wisdom to all who ask. We pray tonight that you would give each one of us peace. We ask that you would help us to be kind in our remarks, to be generous. And, O Lord, we ask most of all that you remind us to keep our words tender, because we might have to eat them someday. And we ask tonight that you would keep everyone safe, that you would watch over all that are here. And we ask that all the things that have happened tonight will be true and honest in your sight. Thank you, O Lord. In Christ's holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Avery. I appreciate you coming. About 4 years ago, Baldwin began to do a State of the City address at the last meeting in January. And I think some of you might have the text. You can follow along. I'd like to read this into the record. 2024 State of the City Address, City of Baldwin, to the City Council, City staff, all Baldwin residents, and business owners. I'd like to begin by saying the state of our city is strong. Finances over the last 12 months. The city and its residents have benefited from several agreements negotiated in 2022. These include Banks County Lost, the new wholesale water agreement with the city of Demarest, and the renegotiated sewer agreement with Bealdale. The work of 2022 culminated in the fulfillment of the promised full tax rollback for Baldwin homeowners, while also offering our employees a significant COLA, further making Baldwin a good place to live and work. The The city maintains strong ties with Habersham County through its intergovernmental agreements, continued participation in Habersham County's disaster response planning meetings, and our presence at the county's quarterly HC3 meetings. Recognizing that property taxes account for only a quarter of the city's budget, economic development remains the city's future. Investments in infrastructure and ordinances supporting infrastructure will be key to future viability. 2023 economic development highlights include new businesses that have opened, including Rev Solutions, the 365 Liquor Superstore, Demary's Growing Together Childcare, and F13 Airsoft. New businesses are under construction. There's a new Mexican restaurant opening on Willingham, Baldwin One Stop on the 441 bypass, and a new gas station on 365. Businesses investing in the airport business park include Precision Digital, opening in the summer of 2024, and expansions of Steel Cell. As reported in past addresses, we continue to believe that we have the best municipal staff. They're highly trained and committed to the vision of the city. Each employee continues to present the best face of the city to the city citizens and beyond. Some highlights include, we formed a new K-9 unit. We updated the city's record service policy. We hired 2 new police officers, and the entire police department is post-certified. We hired 3 new firefighters, purchased a fire truck, and approved the new City of Alto Fire Service IGA. At the end of the year, Public Works celebrated the long-awaited groundbreaking for the new Public Works building, a project over 10 years in the making. The water and wastewater folks accomplished their FY 2023 goal of all 6 operators becoming state certified. In our courts, we moved to the payment process to Justice One and created a full-time clerk assistant role. For City Hall and administration, we promoted Aaron Gathercole to city clerk, hired John Dills as the new social media coordinator and administrative assistant. We hired Patricia Cariappa as an account receivable clerk, and CAO Emily Woodmaster earned CVIOG, which is a Carl Vinson Institute of Government's public manager certification after completing over 300 curriculum hours. The council saw significant turnover this year. In November, Councilwoman Stephanie Almaño was elected mayor to complete Joe Elam's unexpired term. Mr. Theron Ayers, after 12 years on the council, decided not to seek re-election. Upon the resignation of Councilman Larry Llewellyn, and after running unopposed for post 1, Mr. Eric Keith was sworn in to complete Mr. Llewellyn's term and to begin his own term in January. In November, Ms. Carrie Davis, Mr. Joseph Satterfield were elected to serve on council, and their terms began January 24th. The Events Committee, which is comprised of employees and community members, undertook the heroic task of offering monthly events for Baldwin and surrounding community residents. The central goal was to offer regular activities free of charge in the residents' own community. Some of our highlights include the Events Committee raised in excess of $25,000 in cash and in-kind contributions from our community partners. We hosted the annual Baldwin Elementary School Art Contest for the city's Cleanup Day t-shirt for Earth Day. The Water Wars, the picnic, the Back to School Bash, and monthly Movies in the Market were added to Baldwin's successful annual events lineup, including Public Safety Day, Fall Festival, and the Christmas tree lighting. During these free-to-the-community events, the city fed hundreds of people, offered school supplies and haircuts to over 300 students, and introduced young people to their first responders in educational and entertaining ways. The city continues to host Shop with a Hero. Through this community-sponsored initiative, 12 children shopped for toys and clothes with Baldwin police officers and firefighters at a local store, and a group of caring employees brought joy to our residential senior citizens with a Christmas stocking distribution. Some additional accomplishments in 2023. We initiated a general fund wage study to be completed by EMI. We added over $8.5 million to our net tax digest. We issued 76 building permits with 26 newly constructed homes. We issued over 128 occupational licenses. We completed 2 working council retreats dedicated to vision casting, capital improvements, employee retention, and economic development. We instituted an annual employee awards program for the first time. We recognized our City Hall firefighter, police officer, and public works employees of the year. For City Hall, Ms. Cindy Hernandez. For the fire department, Mr. Sean Benfield. In police, Justin Ferguson, and Patsy Alexander. In public works, Jonathan Pierce. We added 4 vehicles and heavy equipment to our fleet. We authorized the use of public safety funds for a forcible entry door for training purposes for both the fire and police departments. I'd like to conclude the address with a note of gratitude to all Baldwin citizens, business owners, and community partners for your continued belief in the direction of the city. I always have a heart full of gratitude for Baldwin's outstanding employees. Thank you for all you do to make Baldwin a special place. As always, we welcome residents and business owners' feedback and participation in decision-making on your behalf. Please join us at meetings and reach out with comments or questions. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. We have approval of minutes, council meeting 1/16/2024, and approval of a budget amendment, emergency sewer expense. Ms. Woodmaster, do we need to take these separately and do them together? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved from Councilwoman Venter. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Councilman Eric Keith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Consent agenda is passed unanimously. The next item on our agenda is citizen comments. Should we, if there are any Baldwin citizens who would like to address council, come forward now, state your name and your address. There being none, we move on to reports. Mr. Holliday from EMI, you have a water wastewater treatment report for us.
I do. Good evening.
Good evening.
I hope all of you are well. Still haven't gotten my step stool behind this podium yet.
We're glad you're feeling better, though.
I am, and I do apologize for not being able to attend the world tour, as we call it, being able to tour the treatment facilities. So I do hope those of you who attended were treated well and gained some valuable information. And this evening, I would like to add a little more information as it pertains to the water and wastewater treatment facilities and giving the report from that particular department. And as all of you are aware, Engineering Management Incorporated, we manage the water and wastewater treatment facilities for the City of Baldwin. And you do have several certified operators. As the mayor pointed out this evening, we did obtain one of the 2023 goals in obtaining full certification for the water treatment plant operators. In addition to that, we have also implemented cross-training with the operators at the wastewater plant. So we also have a wastewater treatment plant operator that is also certified to operate the surface water treatment plant. Those certifications go hand in hand, as treating water is very similar on both sides. The difference is one is treated to be potable so we all can consume it. The other water is treated so it's safe environmentally as we discharge it back into the receiving streams, which ultimately ends back up into the potable water side. But with that being said, you do have a complete staff of certified operators. We are in the process of seeking to hire another operator at the water treatment plant. But also, one of the benefits of having EMI manage your water and wastewater treatment facilities, you also have 10 certified state operators that work for EMI that also support the staff that the City of Baldwin has on site. So that's an added benefit for our services. To speak a little bit about the water and wastewater treatment facilities, you do have a monthly report that you should have in your packets that is handed out each month. I did include another report that I'll go over just a minute that has a little more detailed specific specifics as it relates to the month of December. But this report that I'm going to go over highlights different components from the water treatment facility as well as the wastewater treatment facility. And for the month of December, the water treatment plant treated 74.66 million gallons of water with an average flow of 2.41 million gallons. So average flow per day, 2,410,000 gallons of potable water treated and distributed from the City of Baldwin Water Treatment Plant, which is distributed out through Habersham County via the City of Demorest transmission system. The mayor also mentioned the wholesale agreement that was reached between Baldwin and Demorest, which is the largest purveyor of water in Habersham County. So that flow that's being distributed goes out far much than just the confounds of the City of Baldwin. At the wastewater treatment facility for the month of December, the wastewater treatment plant treated 12.229 million gallons of wastewater for the month. That's 12,229,000 gallons for the month, with an average flow of 0.394 million gallons per day. So 394,000 gallons per day was treated at the wastewater treatment facility. And that facility collects wastewater from the citizens of Baldwin, the city limits of Baldwin, some little outskirts, but also treats waste from the prison. There's a lift station there. That waste is collected and then it is forced onto the wastewater treatment plant where it is treated. Ongoing daily, weekly, monthly maintenance of the treatment system as well as multiple pumps is ongoing. One of the treatment processes as it pertains to the surface water treatment plant is the City of Baldwin obtains their water from the Chattahoochee River. They have a permit to withdraw 3 million gallons per day on average from the river. So there's a raw water pump station that's located there, and then it pumps water to the water plant into a reservoir where it's ultimately treated. So the ongoing maintenance of those devices is quite significant and has to be maintained and visualized on each day. At the water treatment facility, we do have some capital projects that we do have a need of. These are listed on this report, and those items are included in a capital improvement budget that was prepared and submitted to the city. It was discussed at the retreat this past year. And some of those items at the water treatment facility include filter rehabilitation. The current filters at the water plant, they do operate well. They do meet state drinking water standards. However, over a period of time, they need to be rehabilitated. The media needs to be removed and replaced. So we have that on the actual CIP list. We do have painting of ceiling and support columns in the water treatment plant. For those of you who have done the tour many years ago, you can see the interior of that plant's changed. The plant was constructed in 1987, so there's a lot of maintenance that needs to be ongoing. So painting those columns and the interior portion of that plant is included as a larger capital expense for the water plant. At the wastewater plant, we do need a storage and a water building, tertiary filter rehabilitation. The filter systems are similar at the wastewater plant and the water plant. Again, the difference is we're discharging wastewater from the plant at the Baldwin wastewater plant. So we treat to a higher degree because of the permit requirements and where we're actually discharging the water. Those filters also need to be rehabilitated, and then we have some gravel road improvements. The cost of all these rehabilitation projects between the water plant and wastewater plant that we've estimated in our CIP is just slightly less than $1.5 million. Some of the projects that we currently have active and ongoing is upgrading the SCADA system. SCADA stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. That is the automated system that monitors all the different components of the water treatment plant. It allows us to record data that we have to report to EPD on a daily basis to ensure that we're in compliance with the state drinking water rules and regulations. The City of Baldwin authorized approval of upgraded this system to upgrade the entire component to have more state-of-the-art technology in place. And currently that project's about 75% complete. So we're nearing the last percentage of that project. We also have funding secured for the pre-treatment system at the water plant. At times, as all of us have known, when there's a significant amount of rainfall, the water becomes muddy. The Chattahoochee River turns that nice color to a good chocolate-looking muddy watercolor. That water ends up at the water plant, becomes difficult to treat. We're still able to meet permit compliance, but it does become difficult, and a pre-treatment system will allow the operation to be more effective and more efficient. City of Baldwin approved that process. We have obtained EPD approval of the plans, and we're finalizing the last components, which is structural and electrical, and we'll have those plans out to bid, and that pre-treatment system will be under construction this year. The wastewater plant is a little bit of a different process where water treatment is primarily chemical treatment. There's not much biological activity happening unless in the reservoir we have some biological growth and reduction. But in a wastewater treatment plant, it's a two-stage process where it's biological and chemical. So we have a treatment process that utilizes chemical feed, which is the PAC acronym that you see under that column of wastewater treatment system, which stands for a polyaluminum chloride, and that helps in enhanced phosphorus reduction, which is the most stringent requirement that we have at the wastewater treatment plant. So we are constantly trying to optimize that treatment feed system to ensure that we're meeting permit compliance. And we also have an ongoing project at the wastewater plant, much similar to the pre-treatment system, and this is called the solids handling building and the introduction of a new solids dewatering unit. This particular system is what they refer to as a screw press, and the city also has funding in place for that. Plans have also been approved by EPD for that, and we have construction slated to begin later this year. So both of those large projects are moving forward. Continuously needing to increase the water production or evaluate the increase of water production at the water treatment facility. As we all know, Habersham County continues to grow. The city of Baldwin continues to grow. The 365 corridor will definitely anticipate additional growth there. So we have worked with the city at the previous retreats and continue to recommend the city to evaluate looking at other options to expand their water treatment plant, as well as an off-site reservoir to enhance water storage and treatment in the future and able to meet future needs. Wastewater treatment facility also needs to be evaluated in the effects of I&I, inflow and infiltration, where at times, due to heavy rainfall, we have excessive I&I that introduced to the wastewater treatment plant. We're working with the city on completing an SSES, Sanitary Sewer Evaluation Survey, and moving forward to amplify those events to find and locate these I&I sources and reduce that flow, which would enhance the treatment and capacity at the wastewater plant. So those, in summary, is the report that is given each month to the city as it pertains to the month of December. The other form I wanted to hand out just kind of shows in detailed, more specifically, on what your permit limits are and where the city is in regards to those permit limits. It's the Excel spreadsheet that you have that looks similar to this. I'm not sure which formats you have laid out. But each one of those components shows, so for instance, if you look at the second row going down, second row in columns moving across through the spreadsheet, you will see where it says drinking water system, and it has system permit. It's got a number there, and it says process through plant. So you can see at your plant, you're currently permitted to treat 4 million gallons per day at the surface water treatment plant, and your average flow is 2.4 with a daily max of 2.9 and a daily minimum of 2.14. So these values are expressed throughout the spreadsheet and shows how your water is treated. As you move down a little further down the report, you'll see where water supplied for the total amount on the daily average for the month of December was 2.3 million gallons. Of that 2.3 million gallons, 728,000 gallons, that's the 0.728, which is expressed in million gallons, was distributed to the city of Baldwin, and 1.551, which is 1,551,000 gallons, was distributed to the city of Demarest. So that's how your water is being distributed from the city of Baldwin water system. And at the wastewater plant, you can see your flows there. You actually have a permitted value of 800,000 gallons per day with a 1.00 million gallon weekly max. And your monthly average flow is 0.394, which is 394,000 gallons with a weekly max of 0.499, 499,000, just shy of 5 million. So that's that form, just gives you a little more detailed and specifics on the numbers. And then just to follow up with total flow for the year of 2023, which this month just closed out. For the Baldwin Water Plant, for the total year of 2023, the Baldwin Water Plant treated 785 million gallons and distributed on average 2.149 million gallons per day to its users. And the wastewater treatment facility for the year of 2023 treated 126.988 million gallons with an average flow of 348,000 gallons. So, if you like numbers, that's great.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
We, Fleet, speak about the ammonia not passing the compliance.
Yeah, so at the wastewater treatment facility, there are several permit values as it pertains to the monitoring of different components. One of those components is ammonia nitrogen, and for the month of December, the permit limits on that, let me find them here, permit limits on that were 5.51 and 8.84, which the limit was 4.1 and 6.2. So for the month of December, that discharge parameter exceeded the permit values of ammonia nitrogen. This has happened previously at the wastewater treatment facility. As I mentioned, this particular facility is a biological process with chemical addition, and there is some industrial waste in the city of Baldwin. And from time to time, we do have what we refer to in the wastewater industry as a slug of high volume waste, which sometimes includes chemicals or high level ammonia limits that can actually disrupt the biological process in the wastewater plant. And for the month of December, this particular happened here. This has happened in the past. The particular biological microorganisms, what we refer to as nitrifiers, were actually eliminated from the treatment facility because of the slug that came in. We have been monitoring it on a regular basis. We do have scheduled in the near future doing some inspections and walkthroughs of some of the industrial processes in Baldwin to determine where this might have come from in order to hopefully try to rectify this where it doesn't happen in the future. Any other questions?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you to the folks at EMI for doing the world tour.
Uh-huh.
For our new council folks, I think we got a lot out of that day. I mean, to talk about things so generally without seeing the facilities, it is difficult. So when you can lay your hands, when you can see the Chattahoochee and you can see the water intake and how it's being processed, I think that helps us make decisions. And for those of us who've gone multiple times, it's good to see the facilities grow and change. And,
Right.
And, Alice and Martin and I have been here long enough to talk about that pre-treatment facility, especially as storms come. So I know that's a piece that I continue to be most excited about. We started talking about that in December 2020, I think.
Yeah, well, I think it was,
21?
I think it was already on the CIP from previously, but we had an incident, I think it was either Hurricane Delta or Zeta that came through and just sort of, it was like a 500-year flood event. Took out a water main, drained out our water tanks, and I think we had like 6 inches of water in there at one point. It's like, good luck if there's a house fire.
Yeah.
And the way that we were having to, we worked with the city of Demarest, and I think somebody else as well. You guys were out there, Scott, you, and Demarest Public Works were out there, and you guys got it rigged up, and we stopped bleeding water out. The process in processing the water was we were taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So it was like we were just tirelessly trying to make this water
to replace what had been drained out of the tank, and it was, pretty hairy, that was a hairy canary, wasn't it?
That was, I was very nervous.
That was, yeah, hairy canary, so yeah. And, so anyway, so that pre-treatment plant couldn't have, come at a better time to make a decision.
That's
because
right.
We don't wanna be in that position again.
No.
Well, especially as you remind folks who are listening how far and wide our water goes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, it's not
For a lot of
just
people.
Baldwin. When you think about Habersham and Banks County too, the residents who receive our water.
Yeah,
Most definitely.
a lot of people.
Mhm.
Anything else from the council? Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is old business, consideration approval of the council meeting procedures. We've talked about this in the past. Ms. Woodmaster, did you want to say anything about this?
We haven't made any other changes since we last discussed it. There's no other comments.
Council has had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we are memorializing this and, you know, especially with the new turnover in council and them having the opportunity to have some input in that. But also just to make sure that, you know, when I came on council, I still joke sometimes, when I came on council first, I didn't know what minutes were, I was too embarrassed to ask. And so, I really wanna commend everyone for coming up with these procedures and to memorialize that, to make it a little more of a smoother transition for our newly elected folks to, come into the fold and join the family.
The only thing I would do different to this document is I would ask that a date be put on it.
Yes, good.
Just so as things, you know, fly around, we look at them again, we have January 2024 on it, but other than that.
Once it's approved, it will have a date on it, just like the previous one did.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, anything else? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the council meeting procedures as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Venter, can I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Satterfield, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, thank you so much. Okay, under new business, the first item tonight is consideration approval of first reading, the vertical bridge special use permit and variance. Ms. Woodmaster, you wanna lead us through that?
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
All right, so before you tonight is the first reading for the vertical bridge special use permit and variance. This is a twofold request. They are requesting for a telecommunications tower to be placed on Traditions Drive here in downtown Center City. This request is coming before you because, number one, we do have restrictions on where telecommunication towers can go within the city limits, according to our zoning ordinance that was put into place in 2006. And according to that, telecommunication towers are prohibited or not allowed in residential areas unless there's an existing one that is being added onto, or there is another structure that it could be adhered to, so like a water tower or something like that. Well, in this scenario, there isn't a viable option for this company to provide better service coverage for the area. It's really the crest of the mountain, so right before you start going down Baldwin Mountain, it's really that whole area along Willingham Avenue that does struggle with cell service. And so this would provide that. However, in this particular area, it's not allowed. This is an R1 district, and the zoning ordinance explicitly prohibits those from being constructed in the R1 area. So the request is for a special use permit to allow that that structure to take that space in the R1. The second item or request of this company is for a variance to the height of the tower. Again, since it's prohibited, it really isn't contemplated the height of the cell tower. However, it does give some language in there about the setback requirements for the structure itself having to be a certain height. For example, a 250-foot tower would have to meet that distance to a setback. So the bottom of that structure would have to reach 250 feet on every angle, or on every side, north, south, east, west. And this does not do that either. It is a wooded area. That area to the left, or the west side of that tower, on this side of the rail line is a wooded area. There is Norfolk Southern's rail line just behind it. There's a mobile home park to the right of it, and then there is residential homes to the north of it or south of it, depending on which way you're looking at it. So that is their request. This is a 250-foot tower that would be placed on Traditions Drive. I do have representation from Vertical Bridge, which is the company that is applying for this permit, should you guys have any questions or if you wish to go into further detail. Any questions?
Good representation, well, let's compare, sorry.
Well, this is not a public hearing. We don't have to offer them an opportunity to speak, but they are here. Would council like to hear from the company? Or you have quite a bit of their information in the packet?
I'll be able to go through the package. Anybody has any questions?
I mean, I've glanced over this briefly, but it's a lot of information, you know, and it's an undeveloped residential area almost downtown. I definitely need some more thorough examination.
I would like to hear this meeting.
If you could come up and state your name and what you do with the company, and we'll give you 3 minutes. That's usually what we give folks. Okay.
Good evening, I'm Mataniah John, 935 Main Street, Suite C4, Safety Harbor, Florida 34695. And now that that bit's out of the way, I'm the zoning and land use attorney for Vertical Bridge for a lot of their projects in Georgia. And basically, it means that I do a lot of handling the applications. So I'm a glorified project manager, really. Vertical Bridge is requesting a 250-foot tall lattice-style tower, and that's a tower that has ironwork supporting it, but no guy wires coming out from it. So that way, T-Mobile can take and provide service in the area. And you heard that this project is on Traditions Drive. That is a paper street. It's not constructed at this time. Those lots at the end of Tradition were platted quite a bit of time ago, and they've just kind of sat there. When I come back to you with a formal presentation, and with your indulgence, I would like to be able to bring a projector so I can make a PowerPoint presentation. I will have the site acquisition agent who handled the process of finding the site with me, so that way he can answer questions. This process actually started with a representative of Vertical Bridge, the site acquisition agent, reaching out to the city of Baldwin. And unfortunately, since cell towers work like those recessed cans over your head, in that they have to be spaced with particular constraints, if I take the light that's over top Councilwoman Davis and move it out here, it's not going to light where she is. So all towers are inherently local. There's limits on where we can actually be while actually doing the job. And that site acquisition agent can talk about the fact that the first site they looked at, there was a 35-foot height cap because where it would work was in one of your overlays, the 441 Scenic. And then you had another city parcel that had a soccer field on it. I believe now you're storing fill on it, or for a while you were storing fill on it. And unfortunately, that was just too far north and too close to the next T-Mobile tower. So that would be the same as if I was standing next to Greg here. Greg is the boss of the site acquisition agent who was here. So if you have any questions, you can answer on a high level. And if we were both trying to talk to you at the same time, we'd be talking over each other to you, and that just wouldn't work. Anyways, I also have an RF engineer from T-Mobile here, if you approve the first reading, so that way I can come to hearing with you. And they'll be able to discuss more in detail the fact that they have a coverage gap, and they're trying to fill that coverage gap, so that way they can meet a federal requirement for their licensure to provide service. Ultimately, the cell carriers, yes, they're private companies, but from a federal perspective, what the government was trying to do was essentially build a private, essentially do electronically what we did with the interstates, except with private companies. So it's essentially highways in the sky connections. That's been done privatized to not have it be the big projects like you have with the roads. Unfortunately, that does mean that I come before you with projects like this, and as we try to take and serve areas that are more populated, we do end up in situations, since all cell towers are inherently local, where I have a request that is awkward like this, and that I can't run away from the area, so I'm ending up in R1 land with a tower that's fairly tall. Are there any questions that I may answer for you at this time, or is there anything that you will be wanting me to focus on in the hearing, so that way I can better dial in or focus in on that?
Who owns that parcel?
So that parcel is, and I'm going to mispronounce their names,
Okay.
so I'm actually going to have Greg state the name of the owners.
Okay.
The Bursinos.
Bursinos. Okay.
Okay. And Greg, just state your name, your name and address, so that way we all know who you are.
Yeah, Greg Spence, 192 Chicopee Drive in Marietta, Georgia, 30060.
Thank you.
So,
Okay.
and the parcel numbers are 09310C. That's where the tower will be on. It's the northernmost of the three. And then the access will be across parcels D and E. The numbers are the exact same, it's just the letters change.
This is the same property that came before you for a special use permit
Mr. Nix.
3 years ago, 4 years ago, the
Mhm.
Don and Glenn Nix.
Yes.
And they since sold that property to the Brazilians.
So they had come to us with that plotted that land. I think it was like 5 or 6 different lots and a really little driveway. And Mr. Nix purchased the property and came to us for a special use permit for a manufactured home that he was going to live in. And then unfortunately, at some point, Mr. Nix said that the manufactured homes were too expensive to purchase and wouldn't have. So I guess he sold that property. Yeah. Okay. And so this would be a lease that you guys would have a lease on that property. Okay. I see.
Yes,
Just
Councilwoman
wanted
Victor.
to make sure I hadn't, yeah, because I thought that this was that same property. Okay.
Yes, and as far as that goes, depending on which county that we're in, and I apologize, I don't know Habersham's assessing, but basically Vertical Bridge, usually these towers are assessed as an improvement on the property for the tax assessor's purposes, so they do pay tax in at the millage rates for the county and the city.
Oh, yeah. Has everyone, did you guys,
Any other questions, comments? Ms. Davis, have you spoken to anybody around that area?
I have. I've spoken to several families in that area, and they were not in agreement to the tower.
yeah, I remember when Mr. Nix came to us, kind of inquired for the, I think it was doing an application. He had come to council, and we said, hey, we don't typically approve special use ordinance, special use permits for manufactured homes if it's not gonna be somebody who's living on that's gonna be their property. But I told him, I said, make sure you go around to all the neighbors and and see that they're gonna be okay with this. Knock on their doors, have a conversation with them. And so I remember them being a little weird about it, but they understood that he needed a place to live, and so that because of that, they were amicable to, or they were okay with having a manufactured home on there. So I wondered, so thank you for speaking with them.
Was that approved?
It was, but he never went through with it.
Right,
He didn't
okay.
approve it.
I was just curious if it was approved or not.
Yeah, oh, yeah. So these are the. So you guys are just getting pretty slim on options as far as what land is out there.
Yes, Councilwoman Venter. And when you look at the plating in the area, there's not a lot of large parcels that are down that way either.
Right.
So,
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah. I'm good.
Anything else?
Just, I mean, I'm curious, I'm trying to imagine in my head what 250 feet in the air looks like.
How high is our water tower? How tall is the,
The one behind City Hall, you know? Yeah.
Butcher, do you know how tall our water tower is?
I wish you would ask me that question.
I know, right?
150 or 180.
I was gonna say, it looks like 130, 150.
I don't think it's over 150. I think it's somewhere in this. I don't believe it's 180.
Is there an option for you guys?
I would say a max of 150 feet.
Yeah.
The elevated tank behind the City Hall.
Right. So, no, that's
Oh, man, they really don't. I get to see it now. Let me ask you this, is there a possibility of you guys piggybacking on one of our water tanks?
so as far as that goes, the I don't know why that discussion didn't pan out before. I am planning to request a continuance. I actually have it into Ms. Woodmaster to continue to February the 26th. That would give us time to look into seeing if we could co-locate upon your water tower.
Yeah.
The big challenge for T-Mobile from an RF perspective, though, is that it's 100 feet of loss in height for the RAD center. So for their antenna center line.
I gotcha, okay.
So, I would imagine.
Okay, gotcha.
So obviously Vertical Bridge wants to work with the city. They started by reaching out to the city. I would imagine that if RF, and they'll have to digest it, right? Because the RF engineers will take some time to look through it and everything. In their spare time when they're not taking and, working all the other sides. I apologize for my facetiousness. They don't have spare time. They will put it into their work. They will get it done. Anyways, if I were to guess, just from doing zoning cell towers for over 10 years now, I would think that if it was to be something that would be viable, they would be looking for some type of extension to try to, on the top of the water tower, to try to get back up towards that height to minimize the amount of loss.
On top of it, okay.
But
A diving board, I know, right? 'Cause
I
that's
can
our
already hear the
goal.
I can too.
so,
Sean,
yes.
in light of the fact that you've asked for an extension of time with Ms. Woodmaster, is this something that we could table this evening? And that it would give us all a little bit more time to look into some other options? How would you feel about that?
I would be agreeable to a tabling, but I will defer to Ms. Woodmaster, and if you have your city attorney with you on the procedural aspects.
No, you are welcome to table this, if you would like. There is still a public hearing scheduled for this coming Tuesday, right? As soon as I said it, I questioned it, yes, at the work session. There are a number of people that are planning to be there, so we do not want to eliminate that one. So we will still have that public hearing, but we are going to propose that we add, another public hearing on the 26th as they requested. So you're
So
welcome
two
to-
public hearings.
That's correct.
To have the hearing, do we have to have an approved first reading for, though?
No.
Why did I think that?
I did too.
Yeah.
In order to have an approved second reading, you have to have an approved first reading.
Yeah, that's true.
And are we putting you too far off project deadlines if we were to table this?
So, I mean, unfortunately, this is already, the hope for T-Mobile was to build this last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, in the spirit of hopefully finding something that'll work, tabling it is something that we'd be agreeable to.
And that
Will
would
you-
give council time to look over the documents that you presented, further with the information that you've given us tonight.
We still have a first reading at the first meeting in February with a second reading after the public hearing on the 26th as well.
Absolutely.
All right,
And,
look
So
at our calendar.
we need to vote to table this? Yes, okay. Can I have a motion to table the first reading, the vertical bridge special use permit and variance?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Venter, can I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second from Mr. Keith, all those in favor of tabling this motion, say aye. Anybody opposed? Abstain? Thank you, the ayes have it, so we're tabled for tonight, and we look forward to seeing you again.
thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you for coming, being part of it.
I already see citizens' comments, oh, that's just to make the speed zone camera look better.
Yeah, our board yeah, we're famous. It's our swimming thing that we, zap people with speeding tickets.
I certainly don't want to add to that
Oh,
discussion.
don't worry, it will.
I'm just trying to make the phones work. That is all I am doing.
That they're doing these things on, right? The social media that.
You know,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight. Very good. Okay, under new business, our second item, a request to address council from Mr. Doug McDonald regarding agenda item 2. Do you still want to address this, Mr. McDonald? In light of tabling the motion? Or do you want to come to the public hearing?
With the understanding, please, that all positions that I have will be reserved at that second reading. I don't want it to be considered that I waived anything by agreeing to it.
Well,
And I'm not agreeing to the continuance, I'm not agreeing to the tabling, I'm just here. Having already tabled it, I don't think I can procedurally, according to Robert's Rules of Order, even speak to the issue.
well, we don't use
We don't
Robert's
use Robert's
rules.
rules.
We don't use Robert's rules, and.
And you're invited to speak because you requested it. So
Right.
you're welcome
Please,
to
go ahead.
address
You,
the
you
council.
still have the time on the agenda. We don't have a public hearing tonight for this, but you're here, you requested time to talk to us. He has 5 minutes because he requested this ahead of time. I mean, if you would like to.
Mayor and council, it's not my desire to drag this matter out, but to give a lawyer an opportunity to talk and him not talk, there's something wrong with the lawyer.
Well, we give you 5 minutes, I'll just let you it.
There's a procedural issue involved in this matter. I live such that I drive every day, anywhere from 4 to 6 times a day, by this sign that's been up. And I noticed one day that it was gone. And so I had great hopes that it was gone, so that I would not have to address the issue, and you would not have to address the issue either. So I called to the city and was informed that the sign was no longer there. I knew the sign wasn't there. And I was advised that the city knew about it and that the sign had to be put back up. I can call your attention very quickly to a procedural issue whereby it is the duty and responsibility of the applicant to make sure that the sign stays up. And if the sign goes down for any reason, the matter cannot be legally considered by the council. It's the document that's in the documents you have. It's under public notice requirements. As the applicant, you are responsible for ensuring the public notice sign remains on the site during the entire zoning process. Failure to report problems with a sign during the entire period of the hearing will also result in a delay. Failure to ensure the sign remains posted on the site will result in the request being tabled until the sign is posted as required. Failure to ensure the sign remains there will be a delay. If At any time it's determined that the sign's not properly there, the council has no choice but to table the request. If there's no opposition to the application, it does not matter. It says in effect that the local citizens can complain and report the sign's not there. The city will not consider your request until it is satisfied that proper notice has been given. I'm sure that my lawyer counterpart will admit that's true, and that if she may not know it, but the sign was missing, I reported it. I've been advised, of course, that as soon as the city knew it, they went out there and put it back up.
The same day, the wind blew it down, and one of our guys picked it up, brought it to City Hall. In between the time that it was brought to City Hall, we had a phone call from Mr. McDonald.
So it may be that,
The blue sign, we're talking about the blue sign,
Right.
posting, that's been there for, I mean.
Yeah, well, it did come
I'm a
down
realtor.
for
I drive
about
up and
3
down that
hours,
road
4
10,
hours.
15 times a day, it's been there.
well, sir, it hasn't been there because it wasn't there when I called the city, and the city said it wasn't there. Maybe it was the time when
That
you
is
didn't
true.
see it.
It was
maybe
at
that
City
day.
Hall. at
Right.
the
I don't
moment. That
know.
is true.
Okay,
I'm just saying that you're even considering it tonight, even for the opportunity to even table it is not proper.
I guess we could call Tinkerbell to come put it back up every time the wind blows it down.
Well, it's up to the applicant to make sure that it stays up. And I don't know
Where
why-
do you guys live?
I am in Safety Harbor, Florida, so Tampa,
And you're over in Marietta, all right. I used to live in Marietta.
So that
So
maybe,
next time I'm sure that they can, I'm sure T-Mobile's got a Tinkerbell, right? Tinkerbell fly over and woo, and put the sign back up when the wind blows over.
If we're notified that the signage is no longer there, it's gonna be difficult for any company to drive that is not local to be able.
the
to
rule
do
says
it.
it's the applicant's responsibility, not the city.
Yeah.
So if they have to have
Well,
somebody
we're
come
just
from,
really nice people, we'll go put it back up there for them.
well, listen, I'm glad that that happened. It's gonna come around some way or other. It's not gonna
Sure.
go away.
Right.
It's like she says, we're not gonna leave this area unless you deny her request for her client. They gotta leave. But I want to say to you, you need maybe, I'm not telling you, I'm not giving you any legal advice, but you may wanna talk with your lawyer about whether or not even hearing from her tonight, or me, or taking a motion to deal with it. I just respectfully submit you have no jurisdiction to do anything about it, having been notified by your own city employees that it was down. Not just because I did it, but the city employee knew it was down, went up there and put it back up. So I respectfully request that the entire matter, start over again. I think that's what the law contemplates, requires new advertising, every single bit of it. So that's why I respectfully contend you can't have a second reading on something that's not even before you legally
Well, we
for a
haven't
first.
had a first reading either, so, we haven't even had the first readings, so we're not even talking about a second reading.
Well,
Tonight would have been the first reading, we tabled that. I understand what you're saying, that we couldn't even table it if you're saying we're out of order.
that's right. I mean,
Ms. Woodmaster, have you spoken to our legal counsel about
it's
it?
just,
I have, it's not an issue.
Yeah, I know.
it's not what,
It's not an issue, because of the time that it was down. Our employee saw it go down, brought it to City Hall for us to put back up.
is that issue, is that opinion in writing?
No, but I'm sure we can.
I respectfully submit it. I mean, I don't question her conversation with the lawyer, but I do question his opinion that this says that the sign, there's a problem with the sign, it stops.
Is there a specific amount, time limit on that? Does it specify how many hours?
Okay, then there you go.
Because as far as I know, it was put up the same day. Look, I understand where you're coming from.
Well,
I absolutely do.
yeah.
But we tabled this specifically so that we can flesh out all the details before we make any kind of decision.
But it's like putting on your shoes. You don't put your shoes on till you put your socks on.
I understand that, and respectfully, sir.
What if you put your sock
Let-
on,
let-
and then it falls
I'm
off for a
still-
second, and then you put it back on?
Councilman Benzer, Councilman Benzer.
Okay.
Respectfully, sir, I would ask you, let's use a little bit of common sense. I know everybody wants to go strictly by the book, especially lawyers. But, you know, there are better ways to accomplish things than to browbeat folks. The sign went down for a couple of hours. We picked it up and put it back up. Nobody's considering yay, nay, anything at this point. We're looking at all angles.
Mr. Venter,
I
this
can
is,
tell you personally that I am not too keen on a 250-foot tower. Okay? So, you know, I understand your point. I understand where you're coming from. But to nitpick about a couple of hours and then doubting our legal counsel, I mean, he's not led us astray yet.
I beg your pardon?
Our legal counsel has not led us astray yet. And you casting doubt upon his abilities and competence is, you know, that's a little.
Disrespectful.
Okay.
Just read
Mr.
that,
McDonald
read that.
had asked
Are you a
for-
resident of Baldwin, sir?
Sir, I'm a taxpayer in Baldwin, I own property in Baldwin,
Okay.
I'm a pilot,
Mm-hmm.
and I know flying airplanes out there at that airport, somebody's gonna get killed with towers that are 250 feet above
Okay,
ground
we're
level.
on to a different topic. Mr. McDonald requested 5 minutes to speak to us about the sign. We're past the 5-minute mark. We thank him for coming this evening. We will take his ideas under advisement.
Thank you, I want to say welcome to,
Welcome to the jungle.
I can't think of her, I can't pronounce the first, but Ms. Juan, thank you.
John. Ms. John.
Ron, thank you for coming, we're glad to have you from Tampa. Good night, thank you, folks.
Thank you, sir.
I
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
coming. Okay, the next item under new business is reappointment of Mayor Pro Tem. It's come to our attention that Councilman Venter, who was appointed to this position in, what, November?
Years ago.
In November, thought, you know, with his work schedule, he could balance both the city responsibilities and his personal work schedule. Having tried that for a couple of months, he's come to us honestly and said that this is he's finding this difficult. So you would like to resign as Mayor Pro Tem, and then this evening we would need an opportunity to appoint a new Mayor Pro Tem for the council. We thank you for your service for these past couple of months. I do appreciate working with you. I like you sitting over here. Thank you very much.
I really worked on this way.
I guess I would entertain a motion to reappoint, or to appoint a new Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll make a motion to
Yes.
appoint, Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Venter, as she's already been in the role previously and is the senior member, here.
Well, before we have a second on that, are you willing to accept that?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Just don't make me be mayor. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so we have a motion, to appoint Councilwoman Venter as Mayor Pro Tem for the city of Baldwin. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have 2 seconds. We'll take Ms. Davis's, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Nope, thank you.
All those in favor? Well, thank you, Councilwoman Venter. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you for releasing me.
I go, we're the ones win volunteer. Well, thank you very much, I look forward to it, and thank you for the support from all you guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. We know that you have a busy schedule too. But your daytime job gives you a little bit more flexibility than Councilman Venter's. Okay. We have no executive session this evening. Announcements. The deadline for city property tax payment has been extended to February 16th. Payments can be made at City Hall or online at www.baldwinpayments.com. Any announcements from staff? Any announcements from council?
No, I do wanna say, yes, but I would like to say that, I do appreciate that we are able to extend some grace in the timeline for people to be able to pay taxes so soon after Christmas, so.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, sir. Did I
be under consent agenda? Is that something we decided to discuss later?
Oh, we did the consent agenda with the two items together. Did I fail to say it?
Sorry, I guess I just missed that.
Yeah, I said, do we have to take them separately or do them together?
My apologies, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. No one else?
Yes, is it a possibility to open this room an hour before council meeting starts?
Our PD is usually here around 6 o'clock. Tonight just happened to be a little bit later.
Okay.
Usually here by 6. Meetings start at 6:30. I don't see a reason to open it at 5:30.
Did you need it?
Did you need it or something? Or,
Oh, no, I just set the car up today, so.
or come to my house and hang out. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
But not me.
No. Adjourned.
Good evening.